from hero.
Romain Grosjean swoops past Lewis Hamilton.
Grosjean, I doff my cap to you, sir.
Look at Grosjean flying past Nico Rosberg already. Romain Grosjean with his best result ever in Formula One.
He looks like France's next world champion, I'm sure of it.
To absolute zero.
Oh dear, Romain Grosjean! And already Romain Grosjean slews across the track. You see here, there's Grosjean behind Ricciardo. He's just launched himself over the rear.
This is exactly how to kill your F1 career. One of the saddest and most dramatic downfalls in motorsport's history. Born in 1986 in Geneva, Switzerland, to a Swiss father and a French mother, young Romain held the dual citizenship right from the start. As the grandson of Olympic alpine skier Fernand Grosjean and the great-grandson of weapons designer Edgar Brandt, it's safe to say the Grosjean family wasn't exactly short on cash. Even so, Romain didn't start karting until he was nearly 14, a very late start by today's standards. But that didn't matter too much, because to be honest, young Grosjean shot through the junior ranks in no time. He was soon being considered to be France's next big thing. Prost had set the bar crazy high.
What a wonderful fighting Gallic move that was. Alain Prost refuses to give in.
There is Alain Prost, who has got in front of Nigel Mansell.
Alain Prost, as ever, is starting to charge. He wins the Australian Grand Prix. He wins the World Championship of 1986.
And after years where the Alessis, the Panis, and many others couldn't quite live up to it, someone had to step up, right? Yeah, Grosjean was seen to be the next Alain Prost. And it's no wonder, to be fair. His debut season in single-seaters back in 2003 in Formula Lista Junior was absolute domination. Grosjean won all 10 races. I don't even know if drivers like Verstappen, Hamilton, or Alonso can say they've won every race in a championship, but Grosjean? Yeah. By 2004, he was racing in French Formula Renault, and in 2005, he clinched the title. After that, his career was full throttle. In 2006, he debuted in the European Formula 3, and in 2007, he claimed the championship, beating future F1 names like Buemi, Hülkenberg, and Kobayashi along the way. Then, in 2008, he jumped to the GP2 series, what we now call Formula 2, where he crushed it in the Asian Championship and snagged 2 wins in the International Series. That caught the attention of none other than Flavio Briatore, who signed him as a test driver for Renault's F1 team while he kept racing in GP2 in 2009.
Oh, look at that! Romain Grosjean gets it all wrong, and that was unbelievable, and that's the accident that we've been waiting for so many years, and he mounted the barrier, and let's hope that Romain Grosjean, the championship leader, is going to be okay. He's in the cockpit. As Romain Grosjean steps clear of the cockpit, he's not going to score points today, but he is going to live to fight once more.
And yeah, that year, while staying sharp in GP2, the Singaporean GP would change everything.
Oh, big crash! That's Nelson Piquet. And that is likely, I would have thought, to bring out a safety car. Is it? It's off the line. There's the situation. It's a difficult place to recover a car from. The critical thing is he okay? Fernando Alonso coming through to take the checkered flag and claim a very, very well-deserved victory.
Nelsinho Piquet was recently sacked by Renault, and he's now claimed that he was asked to deliberately crash at the Singapore Grand Prix last year, which of course helped Fernando to eventually win the race. Now, Renault have denied all these allegations, but is Formula One about to slip into one of its darkest moments?
Just like that, Grosjean made it to F1. And if you want to hear all about the entire story of this scandal, make sure to watch this one next. No one had expected his rise to F1 to be so quick and smooth. If only young Romain knew how his career was gonna turn out. There were huge expectations for young Grosjean. Was he going to be France's new world champion? Honestly, all signs pointed to it. He had Alonso by his side to learn from and get settled in during what should have been a perfect year to prep for 2010. But let's be real, the 2009 Renault was a shitbox. Like, really awful and super hard to drive. And that didn't exactly help Grosjean to adjust to F1. A touch in the first corner at the European GP, another crash in the first lap at Spa, another tap at the first corner and a spin in the second lap in Italy, a crash in practice at the same corner where Piquet crashed, another big crash during practice in Brazil, and basically qualifying sessions with no pace and races that were just as disappointing. What the hell happened to him? He was so good in the lower categories, but now it felt like his only talent was crashing cars, which makes absolutely no sense, to be honest. With all that going on, Renault obviously didn't keep him for the next year, so Grosjean had to find his way elsewhere, working as a Pirelli test driver and racing in other series. But guess what? He ended up shining again, dominating the Auto GP in 2010, which used to be Formula 3000, and getting back into GP2 with a few podiums. But it was in 2011 when he hit his biggest achievement yet.
Into turn 4, Grosjean around the outside of Max Chilton. Will he get around the outside of Gonzalez as well? He is. He's also around the outside of Gonzalez. Now the inside line for Grosjean. Oh, shut up. That's ridiculous. 3 drivers in 1.5 corners. Grosjean, I doff my cap to you, sir. That was epic stuff.
Yep. He did it again. He completely dominated the championship with 5 wins and beat second place by 35 freaking points. Now Grosjean was the GP2 champ, and that's a big deal. And it was in this same year that he'd make his comeback to Renault, or Lotus Renault as it was now called, just as a test driver, but still, he was back in the paddock. With all this, and aside from his short F1 stint where I'm not really sure what happened to him, Grosjean had shown he was incredibly talented, super fast, and pretty consistent. Sounds like the recipe to world championships, right? Was this finally going to be enough for him to get his confidence back and return to F1? Was this finally going to be enough to convince you to...
Formula 1 race driver, that sounds fantastic.
Lotus Renault, full-time F1 seat. Finally, now it was time. And let me tell you, that Lotus was nothing like the crappy Renault from 2009. It was actually a fast and decent car, and Grosjean got to shine at the Australian GP.
Grosjean was an excellent third on his return to the grid.
Simply amazing. He was finally showing what he could really do. But then, of course, on Sunday he got unlucky and ran into the one, the only.
That was with Maldonado.
And we all know what happens when you end up near him on a track.
As here now goes past to Maldonado on Romain Grosjean, and they make contact, and that's Grosjean going off in the Lotus, and he's got damage to that front right tyre. Oh, after a dream Saturday, it's a nightmare Sunday for the Frenchman.
In the next race, Grosjean was out again after spinning.
Grosjean, again, an early casualty. Was it 3 laps, 2 laps in Australia? Lap 4 for Romain Grosjean, and he's into the gravel trap.
And yeah, I won't lie, it seemed like he was back to his old 2009 self, killing his own career again. But just when it looked like all hope was lost, he finally scored points again in China.
Romain Grosjean with his best result ever in Formula 1.
Then, in Bahrain. Well, in Bahrain, he basically shut everyone up.
It's away we go in Bahrain. Decent start from Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Look at Grosjean flying past Nico Rosberg already.
Look at Grosjean though, he's hunted Hamilton straight down. Just 0.6 of a second behind now. Grosjean hanging on to them though in terms of pace. He's 9.3 off the lead.
Well, as Kimi Räikkönen and Romain Grosjean come home to make it a double podium finish for Lotus. Räikkönen's 5th podium here in Bahrain. Grosjean's 1st podium in Formula 1.
The first podium for France since Alesi at the 1998 Belgian GP. Romain had arrived, and Romain was here to stay. In Barcelona, he set the fastest lap and finished 4th. In Canada and Hungary, he was back on the podium. And sure, he still got involved in the occasional crash.
And the lights out and away we go. It's a very good start by Mark Webber. It's a brilliant start by Michael Schumacher. And already Romain Grosjean slews across the track. And Sebastian Vettel narrowly avoids him. Kamui Kobayashi crashes right into him. Trouble at the first turn already.
But it seemed like he finally built up enough confidence. But not so fast. September 2nd, 2012, Spa-Francorchamps.
End of the drivers, it's lights out and away we go. That is a brilliant start from Maldonado. He's already passed Räikkönen, who's passed Kobayashi, who was a bit sluggish. And there's Lewis Hamilton slewing into the wall. And oh dear, Romain Grosjean and Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton all coming to grief at La Source. And Alonso's hopes of a 24th point scoring consecutive finish dashed within 260 metres.
Hell, what happened there? Miraculously, no one got hurt, although Alonso almost lost his head. But what had just happened was surreal. Looking back at it, not only can we see Maldonado jump the start like 3 days early, but it's pretty clear who was to blame for the whole mess. I have no idea what the hell was going on with Grosjean, but he totally lost it. By this point, even though he'd shown he was quick, he was also proven to have a real knack for crashing, like he was trying to give Maldonado a run for his money or something. The FIA wasn't having it and hit him with a one-race ban. One race ban. That was a pretty harsh penalty, and from what I've found, no driver has been banned like that since Schumacher back in '94. Grosjean had just made history. At that point, everyone turned on Grosjean. And honestly, it's fair enough, because his screw-up could have had some severe consequences. Grosjean admitted years later that it messed with his confidence and mindset. And yeah, that's the last thing you want for a young driver. But hey, maybe that would be a wake-up call for the comeback for the rest of the season, right? Hell no.
Right, he's almost certainly damaged the rear wing with that then, has Romain Grosjean.
By that point, it's safe to say he was seen as a kamikaze driver. But hey, his podiums and solid results when he wasn't crashing made Lotus keep him for next year. I mean, it was his only first full season in F1, so he was bound to get better with time, right? New year, new car, new and improved Grosjean. Honestly, 2013 might have been the best season of his career. He finally shined in confidence in his car. Heck, he wasn't too far behind Raikkonen, and definitely proved to the world how fast he could be. In Bahrain, he went from 11th to 3rd to grab his first podium of the season. Then in Germany, after leading the race for a bit and holding off Alonso's attacks, he got back on the podium. Later in the season, he nailed 3 podiums in a row in Korea, Japan and India, with this insane comeback from 17th to 3rd.
All going off here at the Bud International Circuit, and Romain Grosjean trying to slice his way through the field as well. There's Raikkonen, Grosjean about to take 3rd place, and then Romain Grosjean holding off Felipe Massa, coming home to take 3rd place.
And then in Austin, he finished 2nd, getting his 6th podium of the season.
It's 2nd place for Romain Grosjean, equaling his best finish in Formula 1.
These results were getting seriously impressive. A consistent driver who could actually fight for wins and perhaps soon championships. That's what it looked like, right? Well, if you know Grosjean, you probably know there's another side to this story, because while there were races where he got these amazing results, in others, it was like Maldonado was driving 2 cars at once. In Monaco, I have no idea what happened, but he crashed 3 times in practice. Even his boss, Eric Boulier, had to tell him to wake up, but Grosjean didn't get the message.
Chicane, a bit nasty, minus his rear wing.
Yeah, it connected coming out.
A lot of debris on the trail. Let's just see here, there's Grosjean behind Ricciardo. He's just launched himself over the rear.
What a fucking disaster.
And Romain Grosjean, a 4th accident of the weekend.
In Silverstone, he did his thing again with Webber on the first lap.
Romain Grosjean was the man that hit Mark Webber going down into turn 1. That's where the contact was.
And the Aussie, who made it to the podium, left a little gift for Grosjean.
I didn't have a clue what happened off the line. I think it was Grosjean take the front wing in the first corner, so the first stint was compromised by that.
In Hungary, he started 3rd, but ended up finishing 6th after getting a drive-through penalty for crossing the white line while passing Massa, plus another 20-second penalty for a run-in with Button. But hey, to be honest, there weren't that many big mistakes, except for Monaco. Overall, it was a pretty solid year for the Frenchman. If he kept improving and stopped crashing, he could have had some decent seasons with a decent car. With Raikkonen off to Ferrari, he was set to lead Lotus in the hybrid era. And guess who his new teammate was?
To start the season, the new team like Lotus, for me it's something very special, you know.
Hell yeah! With this atrocity of a car, if you can even call it that, and arguably the 2 biggest kamikazes on the grid, I'm not sure what Lotus was aiming for, but it sure as hell wasn't anything great. Maldonado, who we all know loved tempting fate too much, went with number 13, while Grosjean, just because he liked it, picked number 8. But I bet if he knew, he would have picked a higher number, because, ironically, the Frenchman ended the season with just 8 points. Honestly, not too much to say about this year. What a terrible car. There wasn't much they could do, while Maldonado kept doing his usual.
All 10, that's Esteban Gutierrez and Pastor Maldonado, and coming together down at turn 1, I assume. That's got to be Pastor Maldonado then, and his race ends.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell.
That was with Maldonado.
This guy at the moment, he seems to be shorn of confidence.
Grosjean kind of flew under the radar, but proved to be the fastest. Although not that impressive if this guy's your teammate. The next year in 2015, Lotus had a better car, one that allowed them to consistently fight for points. And the truth is, Grosjean started scoring points in a bunch of races and made it to Q3 quite regularly. In Belgium, after qualifying 4th, but starting 9th due to a penalty, he put on another awesome performance. He got back on the podium for the first time since 2013. With that podium and 9 other races, races with points, Grosjean pretty much destroyed Maldonado. But once again, as I've shown you time after time, there's that pattern in his career. He could be fast, but the crashes and stupid mistakes never seem to stop or even diminish. Although forgivable in your first couple of seasons, when you're 4.5 years in the game, it's starting to be inexcusable. And honestly, it starts killing your chances at anything more. Obviously, the fair share of run-ins with Maldonado were there, as expected, plus a first lap retirement in Silverstone after a crash, keeping up with the yearly tradition, and a bunch of other bumps that didn't take him out but definitely cost him valuable positions and better results. But the one to be remembered, the Russian GP.
That is Romain Grosjean, and that is a very big crash indeed. Into the barriers, towards the exit of turn 3.
No comments on that. After 4 years at Lotus, full of ups and downs, but mostly going downhill, it was finally time for Grosjean to switch things up and try to get his career back on track.
Mercedes power behind you, is that going to sort of benefit you, do you think, from overtaking people?
Yeah, it's really annoying. It's really annoying.
What about Verstappen? He's annoying.
Gene Haas took the very bold step 18 months ago to announce that he would bring an American Formula One team back to the World Championship. They didn't rush things. They didn't come in 2015 announcing we're going to take our time and we'll enter the team in the 2016 Formula One World Championship.
A fresh start, a new team, and a project full of hype.
We were looking for an experienced driver, and Romain was one of several candidates.
Grosjean was the man with the experience to lead Haas and take them to the top. Yeah, people actually believed that. And honestly, it looked like he might actually pull it off. The season kicked off with a bang. He went from 19th to 6th in Australia.
And now all eyes on Romain Grosjean and Haas F1, who've emulated Toyota, the last team to score points on their Formula One debut. Brand new team, brand new season, point scoring finish for Haas F1. Congratulations to them.
And then snagged 5th in Bahrain.
And there we go.
It felt like a win. 6th place, says Grosjean. I wonder what 5th place feels like. He's done it tonight.
Not bad, right? Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's pretty much where the good stuff ended. The Haas started falling off, and Grosjean only scored points in 3 more races. Meanwhile, Gutierrez didn't even score a single point all season. And this is usually where I'd list all his crashes and embarrassing moments, but to be fair, there weren't that many that year. Nothing too crazy. Well, except for Brazil. He didn't even make it to the race because he crashed in the formation lap. Yeah, the formation lap. You can't make this stuff up. The next year, pretty much a rerun of 2016. Grosjean scored in 8 races, ended up with 28 points, just one less than the year before, and still beat Magnussen, who only racked up 19. There were a few crashes and DNFs, as usual.
Oh, and there's Romain Grosjean, and he's off and into the barrier. Rear wheel was off before.
But nothing too crazy. At least he was still coming out on top against his teammate, right? Well, even that didn't last. In 2018, Haas started showing some promise, but by 2019 and 2020, they were back to just being a fucking mess. Magnussen stepped up as the team leader, while Grosjean just seemed stuck on repeat. He wasn't getting any better. If anything, he was actually getting worse. Sure, he pulled off a 4th place finish at the Austrian GP in 2018, has his best result ever, but that's about it. Other than that, he grabbed a few points here and there, but nowhere near as much as Magnussen. The one thing he stayed consistent with? Crazy crashes and dumb mistakes. Like in Spain, where he caused a 1-lap pile-up that honestly felt like Spa 2012 all over again. Hell, this has to be one of the dumbest crashes I've ever seen. He lost the rear of the car, and instead of stopping, he just kept flooring it like a maniac. What did he think was gonna happen? He just made it even worse. Honestly, it was a joke. If there's one thing I've learned about Grosjean, it's that he never learns from his screw-ups. And who could forget when he managed to crash behind the safety car in Baku that year?
No! What happened?
I think Ericsson hit us.
Spoiler alert, Ericsson wasn't even close. But that's not all. The next year, he somehow managed to crash straight out of the pit lane during FP2 at Silverstone.
Not so well done
What have we got
to
here?
Romain Grosjean.
He's crashed at the end of the pit lane.
He has, hasn't he? He's lost the front wing already.
Like, seriously, how's he managed that then? Pretty much during those years, whether it was his fault or not, he always managed to get caught up in the most absurd crashes you could think of.
Where to go, Ricardo's looking where to go, and Grosjean.
Yeah, there's basically endless content. The worst part was that everyone was turning on him.
No, he said I almost spun.
I almost went to the moon.
From the beloved prodigy to a hated disaster. And with the team going nowhere in 2020 and the drivers not doing any better, a big announcement came in October that year.
Just this morning, the Haas F1 team announced that both of their drivers would be leaving the team at the end of the season.
Yep, Grosjean later admitted he wanted out of Haas too, since they weren't going anywhere. But honestly, I'm not buying it, especially since he was struggling to land a seat anywhere else after that.
Bloody difficult to find a seat for 2021 when you are let go that late in 2020. It's going to be tough.
But the big moment of his F1 career, whether you like him or not, still hadn't come, because Grosjean had to say goodbye to F1 in his own way. November 29th, 2020, race 15 of 17 of the championship, Bahrain International Circuit. After another disappointing qualifying, Grosjean starts 19th.
It's lights out and away we go.
In the first corner, he gains 2 positions, and while trying to keep gaining places.
Grosjean still making moves to try and gain places.
A big fire there! As they exited out of turn 3, and that looks very nasty indeed, and unsurprisingly, that is a red flag.
No way. Did you just see that? There's no way anyone could survive something like that. His car is completely engulfed in flames between the barriers. Simply terrifying. While the medical team and some marshals rush over with fire extinguishers to help, everyone's just thinking about Grosjean's condition.
Is he okay?
I will come back to you.
No information on it yet.
Tell me he's okay, please. Tell me he's okay.
I mean, look at the car. It's split in half. Seconds keep dragging on, and still no word. But then, after 27 seconds,
How did he jump out? That's an act of God.
simply a miracle. Grosjean is immediately rushed to the hospital. He has severe burns on his hands and feet, but thankfully, his life somehow isn't in danger.
Not only has he survived going through a barrier at 160 miles an hour, within a ball of fire that the heat must have been so extreme. It was a miracle. It was absolutely a miracle.
I honestly couldn't be more thankful for how far F1 safety has come, from the halo to the hands device in every part of the cockpit. Let's not forget the quick response from Dr. Ian Robbers, the FIA's medical rescue coordinator, Alan van der Merwe, the driver of the FIA F1 medical car, and a local doctor. Everything working perfectly together to save his life. I can't even imagine what it must have been like in there. It's one of the scariest accidents in history, and Grosjean made headlines all over the world while he was recovering. After that, he obviously couldn't finish the season. And let's be real, no team wanted a driver who kept smashing up their cars. So, just like that, his F1 career was over. Grosjean, now known as the Phoenix, bounced back pretty quickly. Instead of calling it quits, he went after new opportunities outside of F1. Since 2021, he's been racing in IndyCar, where he's been doing kinda well, grabbing a few podiums and saying he's enjoying it. But yeah, it's the same story as in F1. He has a few good races, then messes up big time, and then he gets fired. In 2024, he bagged a 4th place finish at Laguna Seca, giving the small Juncos team their best result ever.
Here we go. Here we go. And he went for it. This is for the podium. Man, he came from nowhere. Lots of talent, and he's having lots of fun. Is Romain Grosjean.
But then, in Portland, after setting the fastest lap and driving like a pro, out of nowhere, he had one of those mental laps again. He lost focus, lost control in a chicane, and when he tried to get back on track, well, just watch what happened.
Restart his car. It comes right in front of Christian Rasmussen.
It just makes no sense. All of this sounds so familiar. We can all agree that Grosjean's F1 career had its fair share of highs and lows. Over time though, and with less competitive cars to be fair, the brilliant moments became fewer and fewer, whilst the crashes and disasters became more and more. It always comes back to the same thing in F1. Consistency is everything, and Romain has very little of it. The talent is undeniable, the pace pace is there, the discipline, everything, but just not the consistency. That's how you kill an F1 career. Sure, he impressed everyone in 2012 and 2013 with his raw speed and podiums, but he also earned endless critics and haters with his incredibly dangerous crashes. Stuff like Spa 2012, Barcelona 2018, or the last one in Bahrain 2020 showed he never learned to control that aggression and lack of focus. If he had just been able to become consistent, imagine what he could have been. There were basically two Grosjeans, the future world champion and the one who just crashed and caused chaos. But let's be real, that doesn't save him from making the WOT list. I can already hear some of you in the comments saying, but he's got 10 podiums. Sure, but his dark side earns him a spot there. So I'm throwing him in the category with Stroll. If you want to see any other guys or girls, go on this list, just watch this playlist. And as always, thank you for watching.